Voices of Wartime Ukraine, presented by Ukrainian Crisis Media Center.
I couldn't believe it was really happening. The wife of a Ukrainian prisoner of war from Mariupol has been waiting for her husband's release from captivity for almost 3 years. Written by Valeria Melnik, journalist of the Tribune.
Russian brutality has turned millions of lives into horrific accounts, once unimaginable before the full-scale war, with some of the most tragic coming from Mariupol, events that shocked the entire world. Almost every Mariupol resident experienced this hell, and for many, it is still ongoing. Among them is Viktoria, who found refuge in Lithuania, but has yet to find peace. Since the spring of 2022, the Russians have been holding her husband captive.
They will either jail or kill me, Yaroslav Zhdamarov told his beloved Viktoria not long before being imprisoned. The girl recalls the words with pain in her heart and tears in her eyes. It's approaching the 3-year mark since her husband was taken away, but Viktoria is still fighting and looking for any way to help her beloved. What was the couple's life like before Russia launched a full-scale invasion? What were their thoughts as they left the destroyed city? How does a girl waiting for her beloved to return for so long survive?
The first time they laid eyes on one another was the beginning of a great love.
Viktoria and Yaroslav were born and raised in Mariupol, meeting 10 years ago while attending university. After chatting online for a few days, Yaroslav invited me out. I had a strange feeling from the moment we met, as if I had known him my entire life. As if we'd known each other forever but only met at that point, the girl says. A day with a downpour is a memory that warms Viktoria's heart. Summer, June, first date. It was raining that day and I was not wearing shoes for the weather. To keep my feet dry, Yaroslav carried me to the cafe on his back. It was so romantic. I will remember that moment for the rest of my life, Viktoria recalled warmly. Viktoria pursued a career in the beauty industry after graduating from university, and Yaroslav signed a contract with Azov. He chose that brigade so that he could visit his family more frequently. While serving, my beloved started to learn about dog training. It was his inspiration and a significant part of his life. We also had a dog that my husband got from the service. It went through all of the terrible moments of the full-scale war with us and is still with me today. Aside from training, Yaroslav started a business. He had several vending machines selling purified drinking water, the girl recounts. Viktoria's favorite spot in Mariupol was the sea. I used to live by the sea with my parents, and when I moved in with Yaroslav, we also lived close to it. 2 days before the 2022 invasion, we unexpectedly went to the beach, just to sit and enjoy the moment as if we were about to encounter something terrible. This is my last warm memory of pre-war Mariupol.
The challenge of the blockade and the abduction of Yaroslav Zhdamarov.
Mariupol, like most towns and villages in the Luhansk and Donetsk oblasts, had been close to the front line since the war in eastern Ukraine began in 2014. Yet still, Viktoria told how no one could have predicted such a widespread disaster. Of course, I was anxious a few days before the invasion, but I never imagined that this would turn into this awful nightmare. Our city seemed ready for anything, but not for a blockade, the girl says. At 5 a.m., the Russian attack woke up Yaroslav and Viktoria. We woke to the sounds of explosions and immediately realized what was happening. We started to read the news and saw Putin's address where he announced the start of the so-called special military operations. We were in Mariupol for 2 months, from February 24 to April 24, and stayed in the basement for 6 weeks. All the time. We didn't just go down when an alarm went off, we lived there. There was constant shelling every day and it never stopped, Viktoria continued. Viktoria talks about the obstacles she and her family had to face after the invasion. After running out of drinking water, we took water from the sea and melted snow from cars. We cooked under the shelling. It's difficult to pinpoint the scariest thing at the time, But probably the realization that there was no help was what scared us the most. There were no police, doctors, or firefighters. We knew that if anyone was injured or a building caught fire, we would have to help ourselves. And we didn't have to wait long until this came true for us. Due to shelling, our house caught fire. It quickly spread across a large area, but we couldn't even extinguish it. It became life-threatening. There was only one option: to leave our home behind. On April 22nd, enemy soldiers arrived at the basement where Yaroslav and Viktoria were hiding. That morning, we awoke to a neighbor's voice telling us that all men needed to come out for a document check. She said that the occupiers had arrived, and we realized that the situation was deteriorating. We were still waiting for the Ukrainian armed forces, Viktoria added. Yaroslav and Viktoria remained in Mariupol for 2 months. When the occupiers arrived, they were given a choice: move into vacant houses in the eastern district or leave the city. The family chose the second option. We had to go through filtration just like anyone else who wanted to leave or stay in Mariupol. We knew it would be a thorough examination, and we would either be lucky and pass it or, God forbid, fail. At the time, I wasn't fully aware of how the situation could affect our entire family. It was the first time I felt relieved because we had survived. Every night I sat in the basement, I wondered if it would be the last, Viktoria admits. Everyone who wanted to leave was taken to a temporary housing facility just before the filtration began. That's when Viktoria realized Yaroslav might be taken away. They checked our belongings right at the entrance. If you owned a laptop or a phone, you had to prove it was yours. Yaroslav was the first to approach those people. I don't know what to call them. They wore military uniforms but had no insignia. All men were asked if they had served. During his interrogation, Yaroslav admitted to having served in Ukraine's National Guard. In any case, the occupiers had long had access to the military personnel database. They took him away, pushed him to the side, communicated all of the information to someone on the phone, and did not return his documents. They told him to wait, Viktoria explained. During that time, Yaroslav was able to communicate with his family, including his sister, mother, and beloved. Viktoria repeated what the man told her. He told how they threatened to jail or kill him. He was prepared for the worst and said goodbye as if it was the last time. I couldn't believe it was actually happening to me and my family. On April 24th, at 1:30, Yaroslav was taken away. It was Easter. We were still in the filtration camp. We tried to question the enemy soldiers about Yaroslav's whereabouts and length of detention. One of them stated that his case would still be considered, but that if it was down to him, he would kill him immediately. I waited for my beloved to arrive, but minute after minute, hour after hour, he was gone. My husband's mother, sister, and I agreed to wait until the next morning and then leave if Yaroslav didn't show up. Only when safe will we be able to help him, says Viktoria. She traveled to Germany with her husband's mother and sister before settling in Lithuania. It was difficult to leave because we have a big dog. We had a difficult time finding a place that would accept refugees with pets because we did not want to take him to a shelter. Our dog is very social, but needs to be with those he knows. We didn't even consider leaving him. We spent some time in a refugee camp in Germany before moving to Lithuania, she explained.
Attempts to locate Yaroslav.
Viktoria is still terrified as her husband is still in captivity. She recalled receiving a phone call about a week after Yaroslav was taken away. Someone called me from an unknown number. He claimed to have spent the day with my husband, who was reportedly in Donetsk at the time. On May 18th, I received another call from an unknown number. I then heard Yaroslav's familiar voice. I believe he was calling from an investigator. He said he was awaiting a trial in Donetsk. After that, I continued to look for witnesses who could confirm that my husband was still alive. Viktoria began to participate in social media chats where people talked about prisoners and wrote letters to the organizations involved in their search. She wanted to be heard and helped. I contacted the National Information Bureau, the SBU, the police, the Ombudsman, and the Office of the President. We also contacted various human rights organizations. Most of them responded that they were working to return all captives home. However, a few people provided me with more detailed answers and advice, such as the NGO Bluebird. I then contacted representatives from another human rights organization. They advised us on the next steps in the case and assisted us in submitting official requests for information about Yaroslav. We contacted the so-called Donetsk People's Republic administration to find out where my husband was. Later, we received confirmation. He remained in Donetsk for just over a year. In March 2023, we received notice that Yaroslav's case had been transferred to the Rostov military court. We were waiting for him to be brought to the city to establish contact through a lawyer, Viktoria revealed. The trial began in June of last year. Yaroslav Zhdamarov is being tried as an officer under 3 articles, despite having resigned from the service in 2019. The terms of imprisonment range from 20 years to life imprisonment. This case, created by the Russian Federation, is based on abstract accusations that have no direct connection to the defendants. I'm doing everything I can to help Yaroslav get home. I'm not even sure who I can rely on to solve this problem. No organization has access to the prisoner list, including their health status and whereabouts. I recently learned that a delegation of OSCE representatives from various countries is being formed to review all of the information about our prisoners. I want to believe that this will be a significant step towards freeing Ukrainians from Russian captivity, Viktoria told.
Supported by the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, the views of the authors don't necessarily reflect the official position of the U.S. government.